It may be unfortunate to hear such statements, but they allow society to see the true face of certain individuals and, possibly, cleanse the country of undesirable elements. Will Smith unleashed a verbal attack on Donald Trump, causing widespread amazement. The actor stated that America is the only place where he can exist, emphasizing that no other country would have provided him with such an opportunity. Upon hearing talk of walls and unconstitutional religious bans, he felt a surge of inspiration and realized the need for further work. Donald Trump is once again attracting public attention, this time not due to legal battles or scandals involving classified documents. He has an unexpected rival on the political stage, Will Smith. But before delving into this intriguing topic, it's worth recalling a recent interview with the actor. In it, he mentioned the possibility of Smith running for president. Although he spoke about it semi-jokingly, his words prompted reflection. While working on one of his films, Will Smith met Dr. Romalu, a native of Nigeria. Romalu told the actor about his childhood perception of America as a promised land, a place where God sends his chosen ones. These words deeply touched Smith, reminding him of the greatness and significance of America. Will Smith, whose name became synonymous with the memorable incident when a slap turned into a symbol of defending honor, and a phrase about his wife overshadowed even the famous presidential denial, is once again in the spotlight. This time, he has set his sights on the political Olympus, causing slight confusion in Donald Trump's camp. Smith announced the possibility of his running for president, sparking a wave of discussions about the potential First Lady. However, according to the actor, this prospect does not excite him. He admitted that he does not see himself as president nor his wife as First Lady. In a playful manner, Smith suggested that the audience take the place of the First Lady, expressing hope that his candidacy would be supported despite his reluctance to hold the highest state office. He named education as a priority initiative in the role of First Lady, emphasizing its importance for the future of the country. Despite the seriousness of the topic, there was irony in Smith's words, which observers were quick to notice. Many considered his statement more of a joke than a real political plan, but this did not prevent him from drawing attention to important issues facing society. In the corridors of one event, a playful remark was made to a well-known person. The interlocutor jokingly asked if he could verbally defeat Donald Trump in a debate, reasoning that he, being witty and resourceful, could successfully counter Trump's assertive and straightforward manner. The response was a confident statement of readiness for such a confrontation. This ironic exchange highlighted an interesting trend. Trump seems to have a penchant for public disputes with celebrities, turning them into a kind of personal reality show. However, his ratings have been falling lately and his merchandise is not in demand. This time, he may have miscalculated in his choice of opponent. Will Smith is a figure of a completely different magnitude than those who seek attention through scandals. He is a first-rate star, a person whom Trump once welcomed at his lavish receptions until he encountered the fact that celebrities stopped answering his calls after 2016. Will's gaze was full of determination when he struck. It was a moment that sparked a wave of admiration. Many felt that such an act deserved to be repeated. Will Smith, in the eyes of many, appeared as a true hero, and his actions caused a storm of delight. Too bad the blow wasn't harder, was the general sentiment. So what really happened? Will Smith seemed to reach a boiling point in his attitude towards the endless farce that Donald Trump represented. Endless political maneuvering, obsessive self-promotion, and disregard for the truth, like a piñata at a billionaire's birthday party, all prompted Will to say his decisive enough. And when the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air himself speaks, people listen. After all, Trump's brand is built on the ability to shout louder than everyone else. The content of his words doesn't matter, the main thing is that he speaks, creating noise and attracting attention. Everyone remembers his promise to run the country like his own business. Well, mission accomplished, he has bankrupted it, like Trump Steaks, Trump University, and every casino that was unfortunate enough to bear his name. For Donald Trump, there's nothing worse than being overshadowed by those who truly deserve trust. Therefore, Will Smith's loud statement made the former president nervous. Trump likes to feign disdain for Hollywood, but it should not be forgotten that for most of his life before politics, he aspired to be a part of it. Will Smith admitted he was ashamed to be an American because of Donald Trump's statements. It is important to understand, the goal is not to defend Smith's words. He is entitled to his opinion. He is a Hollywood actor not accountable to the American people, and he is not required to be politically correct. Unlike politicians like Donald Trump, he is not responsible for his every word. The idea of actors speaking out about political candidates is not new. Perhaps it is not worth paying so much attention to this, but Smith's words touched Trump. He even recalled Trump's participation in the TV show The Apprentice, where he convinced middle managers that firing people on camera was inspiring. The television image of this man was carefully built on the imitation of a successful businessman, which resembles a raccoon who imagines himself to be the chef of a Michelin-starred restaurant simply because he rummages through the trash with appetite. However, Will Smith can't be fooled by this trick. He immediately recognizes the falsehood. And if we face the truth, Trump's presidency was one endless, chaotic reality show where the host constantly lost the thread of the story and the participants, that is, American citizens, only hoped to make it to the next stage of elimination. America is not just a country, it is an embodiment of ideals and values, the only place where people like me can live and create freely. Nowhere in the world would I have been given so many opportunities for self-expression. Therefore, when I hear talk about walls and unconstitutional religious prohibitions, it only spurs me on, reminding me of how much more needs to be done. I just can't allow it. We must not give in to our base instincts. Fear is natural, but the greatness of the American people, as I saw through the eyes of Dr. Omalu, is that in the face of danger we turn to our best qualities. Donald Trump seems to be making considerable efforts to maintain an imperturbable appearance which, given the peculiarities of his appearance, becomes a daunting task. Rumor has it that his Mar-a-Lago residence has a discount tanning salon offering an exclusive pumpkin spice glow service, as the former president's skin tone seems more and more unnatural every day. However, let's get back to the point. Trump is trying to demonstrate complete indifference to what is happening, as if receiving a stinging remark from a first-rate Hollywood star is commonplace for him. But everyone understands that this is not the case. We are talking about a person who is not shy about unleashing angry tirades on social networks at 3 in the morning because of unfavorable publications in the press, who once called the movie Home Alone 2 his greatest achievement in cinema, and who, quite possibly, keeps a weighty dossier on everyone who has ever dared to ridicule him. The reality is that Donald Trump is extremely sensitive to criticism. A negative review of Trump Tower can plunge him into a state close to shock, let alone public ridicule from a person with undeniable talent. One can imagine him pacing the halls of Mar-a-Lago, sipping a Diet Coke, and demanding that those around him immediately compose a response that doesn't sound like a tantrum from an offended schoolboy. However, what really keeps him up at night? It's not just the ridicule of the Hollywood elite. It's a whole complex of problems: the close attention of the tax authorities, a series of lawsuits, the crushing burden of responsibility, and, perhaps the most terrible thing, the need to master a page of text without a single illustration. One can only imagine this nightmare. The Trump phenomenon lies in his ability to deliver blows, but when it comes time to answer, he instantly turns into a victim of circumstances. The scenario is repeated time and time again. He is called to account, he explodes with a tirade on social networks, and then, as if by magic, blames Hillary Clinton, windmills, or some deep state for everything. If there were a whining discipline in the Olympic Games program, Trump would have more gold medals than Michael Phelps himself. It is also worth mentioning his signature move, doubling down. Even if he is caught eating ice cream straight from the container, he will still insist that this is a carefully planned hoax organized by the FBI, the ice cream industry, and possibly even Oprah Winfrey. His ability to turn reality into a conspiracy theory that benefits him is almost admirable if it weren't so exhausting. Instead of admitting his guilt, he always appears as a misunderstood hero fighting against some grand, fictional injustice. And his devoted supporters devour this lie with greed, as if it were their last meal. At a certain point in your career, you realize that you have earned the right to make mistakes. This is a time of experimentation, a time to try something completely new, even if it involves the risk of failure. While some figures seem stuck on repeat, spewing angry tirades on social media, others prefer to take action. Will Smith, for example, continues to make movies, create content, and stay in the spotlight. Donald Trump, on the other hand, seems fixated on endlessly repeating the narrative of a rigged election. He's like a poker player who loses repeatedly but insists the deck is stacked. It's as if he can't exist without playing the victim. Even when there's no reason, he manages to spill his drink and blame a global conspiracy, demanding justice and eliciting only eye rolls. His behavior has become so predictable it's a ritual: criticism, denial of guilt, lamenting injustice, repetition. And so it goes, without any apparent end in sight. In a world where politics and pop culture intersect, bizarre situations sometimes arise. Imagine Mr. Trump approaching Will Smith with a lucrative real estate deal. An idol? Perhaps. But behind the scenes, a more complex game unfolds. Suddenly an Ashley appears in this farce, receiving a dose of blame for a ruined life. And then, the focus shifts to Trump's fanbase, the very people who hypocritically claim to disregard the opinions of Hollywood stars, yet are ready to tear apart anyone who dares criticize their idol. This situation resembles a child's tantrum over a disliked toy in a Happy Meal. It's both funny and sad. Just yesterday, Donald Trump was probably humming Will Smith's hits while driving around the golf courses of his Mar-a-Lago estate. He likely cultivated the illusion of friendship with the famous actor for years, since in his world, name-dropping is valued more than genuine human connection. After Will Smith spoke out, his words were a bombshell, igniting a storm of outrage and criticism. His sharp remarks, urging to cleanse the country of Donald Trump's supporters, shocked many with their uncompromising tone. The choice of the word cleanse caused bewilderment, as it carries a religious undertone and implies something more than just political disagreement. Such statements, directed against an entire group of people, only pour fuel on the fire and deepen the divisions in society. A recent trip to Europe made it clear how the political situation in the U.S. is perceived overseas. Discussions about American politics elicit bewilderment and eye rolls from Europeans, as if they're watching a chaotic and unpredictable spectacle. The same scenario repeats itself. Trump strikes, his opponents respond with doubled force, and he, like a victim, complains about unfair treatment. It's a well-rehearsed tactic, allowing him to stay in the spotlight and evoke sympathy from his supporters. The question arises, can Trump find a worthy response to Will Smith's outburst? After all, his usual arsenal consists of insults, bizarre nicknames, and absurd accusations, as if he's stuck in a malfunctioning arcade game, dispensing the same predictable combinations. It's quite possible that one day a post will appear on Truth Social written in his familiar style. It will express regret over the creative decline of a once brilliant actor whose recent works have fallen short of expectations and whose popularity, according to the author, is greatly exaggerated. Of course, his army of loyal supporters will unconditionally accept this view. However, does the author of these lines really believe that such criticism can affect Will Smith, an actor who has remained one of Hollywood's highest-grossing stars for many years? The same Will Smith who managed to triumphantly return to the screen after the failure of Wild Wild West, as if that unfortunate episode in his career never happened? If even after Earth couldn't end his ascent, it's unlikely that anyone else will succeed. It must be acknowledged that Will Smith has faced far more serious challenges than verbal attacks. Hollywood is a ruthless environment where dreams are shattered daily, but he has persevered. He has created iconic films, won prestigious awards, and even after the scandalous slap of Chris Rock at the Oscars, he was not only not banished from the industry but also received the coveted statuette that same evening. This is not just survival, it's true prosperity. Therefore, a legitimate question arises, will Smith worry about a few sarcastic messages from a person who once, without caring about the consequences, looked directly at a solar eclipse? And now Mr. and Mrs. Donald Trump are invited to the stage. Mr. Donald in person. Like a shark sensing blood, Trump thrives when his opponents falter and make mistakes. But Will Smith is a player of a different caliber. For years, he has skillfully dodged the poisonous arrows of the Hollywood elite. This man has been a superstar since the early 90s, battle-hardened and knows how to survive under a barrage of criticism. If the situation becomes critical, Smith only needs to remind the world of the scandalous recordings featuring Trump on The Apprentice or resurrect one of his endless scandals. The dispute will end before it even begins. So Trump can rant and rave all he wants, but Will Smith is not just another punching bag for political exercises. This is a man who has withstood crushing blows from Hollywood and emerged victorious from this meat grinder. Against the backdrop of Hollywood intrigues and meanness, Trump's insults seem like a light breeze. Ultimately, this is another example of how Trump's inflated ego got a painful flick on the nose, and now he is desperately trying to regain lost control. He craves to be the protagonist of every story but repeatedly becomes the object of ridicule. And let's be honest, that's what hurts him the most. For all his billions, all his power, albeit dubious, and all his army of supporters, mainly Facebook commenters named Brenda, Trump desperately needs Hollywood's approval, the recognition of the very elite he so fiercely criticizes. And it's safe to say that the coveted Oscar statuette will remain an unattainable dream for him. Will Smith made that crystal clear with his actions. And for Donald Trump, this is probably more significant than a box office failure, accusations of financial fraud, or realizing the futility of trying to make his hair look natural. It is possible that his actions will entail certain professional consequences, and admittedly, it takes considerable courage to expose oneself in this way. But it is hardly surprising that such a development of events. Such situations are not new. That's why Republicans in Hollywood prefer to hold their meetings in strict secrecy, avoiding unnecessary publicity. They gather in a small circle and discuss pressing issues. More than once, some of them have shared their thoughts right here. And, of course, they will deny their involvement while exchanging secret signs. Elizabeth repeatedly mentioned this before she left. Even on television, which is somewhat different from Hollywood, and even working in New York, she encountered similar phenomena. Such trends are probably widespread. Hollywood has always been a kind of white whale for Trump, an unattainable goal that he persistently pursued but never managed to catch. He tried to gain recognition with The Apprentice, naively believing that a reality show would open doors to high society. But instead, he only became an object of ridicule. He craved respect from A-list stars but only received strained smiles at protocol photo shoots and polite condescension, after which his interlocutors hastened to retreat. Donald Trump's vain attempts to organize lavish receptions at Mar-a-Lago look like a desperate desire for recognition in high society, which he seems never to achieve. And now Will Smith, a world-renowned star, seems to confirm what is whispered in the Hollywood corridors. Trump is an outsider, but not a rebel going against the system, but rather a person who does not evoke sympathy. He is not feared, he is not admired, he is not taken seriously. He seems like an annoying guest trying to break into someone else's party. No matter how Trump revels in barbs at others, deep down he is tormented by the thought that the chosen ones will never accept him into their circle. What will happen next? Probably a new portion of angry speeches, complaints about universal disrespect, and another proof that money cannot buy authority and recognition. Will Smith, like no other, understands this. He remains a Hollywood icon, while for Trump, the only fresh prince is perhaps a late-night burger from a fast food restaurant.